Now, let me bring you back to the generating capacity. You talked about 7,000 megawatts. I wonder if this is something to gloat about because it's still a far cry going by what analysts say is the required capacity, which is 20,000 megawatts for to have a considerable power supply, not even 100%. So isn't this still a far cry from what is expected?
I agree. By our sheer size, we are generating highly inadequate to meet our ultimate demand. But the question to also ask is, have we made progress from when we took over? Where were we? And where are we today? That is the question that should be asked. Because if we are making consistent progress, I think we should also be given some kudos.
Now let's look at the procurement process now. So much controversy has been brewing on Nigeria's Procurement Act, and while some people see it as a bottleneck, some people feel that it's so porous and has given way for some sharp practices. So what exactly has been your experience with the procurement process? Do you think it needs to be amended?
I'm glad you say it's a process. In a process, you see deficiencies and you plug them, you make amends to them until you attain the perfect system you wish to attain. The procurement system in its own right, is set out to achieve perfection for people that are qualified to supply goods and services, which was the intention. If there are human factors, you can't remove them because they are being operated by humans. That we're also looking at to fine-tune them by the day.
You talked about the discos, and on the part of the discos too, they have also argued vehemently that the transmission arm is the weakest arm so far, and that they are lacking the required capacity to transmit whatever supply of power that is given to them.
I want to disagree. This is a sector that holds a power meeting every month, precisely on the first Monday of every month. And these complaints have never been tabled by the distribution companies, as far as I know. We always have a log of what was generated and what was transmitted by the transmission company. And I honestly cannot say I've had a distribution company complaining of the amount of power transmitted to it. In any case, transmission of power generated can certainly, and not in the interest of this country, be given in the hands of one particular individual for fear of being hostage.
Let's talk about the housing policy, with so much huge housing deficit in the country. Do we have a comprehensive national housing policy to take care of issues of affordable housing?
Yes, we have a national housing policy. What did the national housing policy set out to do is provide affordable housing, not only affordable housing, housing that people can live in, because one of the main thrust of government is to be able to give shelter to its citizens. Now, affordable housing is also a destination. Now, what is affordable housing? It's a term that is very loosely used. An affordable housing to citizen A may not really be an affordable housing to citizen B. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the low income bracket. Now, if you look at the low income bracket, you are not also only talking about affordable housing, but you should also talk about housing that is adaptable to that person in terms of culture, in terms of family size, and in terms of status. So affordable housing is a loose term, which we are now trying to address in concept, in location, in culture, and so many other factors.
Now, looking at the reality on ground, with 18,000 naira minimum wage, do you think we have what it takes to provide housing for this class of people?
There is a plan on ground. In fact, what is even in our concept is to also look at people that are not even in the employment bracket, people that are self-employed, the artisans, the mechanics, and such small groupings that are not within the income bracket. So they don't even contribute to the National Housing Fund. So these are kind of people we are looking at to also factor into our housing policy. And now we have designed houses that have been delivered across all the states, I think except 2 or 3 states that are not participating in this our program. Those houses, until we finish them, will determine what the costs are. Then we will now look at who can afford. And what we're also looking at now is the cooperative housing scheme, which is actually owned by those low-income groups that you are talking about. What do? In their groupings, they will come, who will present a design to them. We can adjust the design, and until it meets their scale, their need. We're also factoring doing a scheme that is expandable. If, for example, today you only desire 1 room en suite, you can start with it and you can expand it as your earning power improves and until you get to the level which you so desire.
So how many housing units are we talking about that's already on ground?
We have an average of about 55 in each states of the Federation that are largely nearing completion, about 60-70% completion. About 55 on the average on all the in all the states. 55 units in all the states of the Federation. We have some that have condominium. Now, that is talking about the differences in culture. You see, like in the north, everybody goes for the flat, but in the south, you can do a condominium and people are okay with it. Condominium, that is the high-rise building with multiple floors, multiple type, 2-3 bedrooms within a block.
Now, when you talk of 55 units of national spread in terms of housing units, looking at, do we have a comprehensive urban renewal plan that takes cognizance of the statistics on ground, maybe perhaps working with some institutions like the National Population Commission to get the required statistics to address the housing need of each state in terms of its peculiar demands?
Now we have an urban renewal program that we even have pilot schemes going on in states like Kaduna. Ogun is participating in the urban renewal, and one other state I cannot actually remember. But we have an urban renewal program that is going on. We had an urban upgrading program in Bauchi some years back also.